Hello, we are going to be looking at the respiratory system, and under the respiratory system, we'll be taking a subtopic on cellular respiration. First of all, let's make a recap of what respiration is. Respiration is the process by which assimilated simple sugar is broken down in a stepwise series of chemical reactions to produce energy. Carbon dioxide and water are released as byproducts during respiration. Having looked at what respiration is, let us define cellular respiration. What is cellular respiration? Cellular respiration is the process whereby food substances are oxidized in the cells, particularly in the mitochondria, to release chemical energy in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, for work. So, as you can see with this chemical equation, you see that one molecule of glucose is oxidized in the presence of enzymes to give carbon dioxide and water as byproducts and release 38 moles of ATP, which is used for work. Now, let's talk about types of cellular respiration. And the types of cellular respiration include both the aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. But in this video, we'll be covering that of aerobic respiration. What is aerobic respiration? In this type of cellular respiration, oxygen is utilized in the oxidation of a sugar molecule. This sugar molecule is usually glucose within the cell with the release of energy, carbon dioxide, and water. And this type of respiration is commonly carried out by most living things. We are going to be showing the chemical equation involved. So this is the formula for aerobic respiration. As we can see, one molecule of glucose is oxidized by 6 molecules of oxygen in the presence of enzymes to give 6 molecules of formula is the same as the one we just looked at previously, but it is particular to that of aerobic respiration. This energy that is released is stored in the cell in the form of adenosine triphosphate. That is the 38 molecules of the ATP is stored in the cell and it's a form of energy. So we are going to be looking at the various stages of aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration has several stages. The first stage of aerobic respiration takes place in the cytoplasm, and this stage is referred to as glycolysis. Glycolysis is a series of reactions in respiration by which glucose is incompletely broken down to pyruvic acid in the cytoplasm. We can see it from the name glycolysis. Glyco is coming from the word glycogen, and lysis is coming from the word splitting. So glycolysis is the splitting of sugar molecule. So I will show this also in a chemical equation. From this chemical equation, we see that one molecule of glucose, which is the C6H12O6, is being oxidized by 6 molecules of O2, which is the oxygen, in the presence of enzymes, and this is taking place in the cytoplasm. This is going to give us 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, that is the CH subscript 3 COCOOH, that is the pyruvic acid, plus 2 molecules of hydrogen and 2 molecules of ATP or energy, which is being released at this stage. So this is the first stage of aerobic respiration. So we are going to be showing the outline of the first stage of glycolysis properly. The second phase or stage that follows the step of glycolysis is referred to as the Krebs cycle or citric acid cycle. This is when the pyruvic acid is completely broken down to form carbon dioxide, that is CO2 and water. The Krebs cycle takes place in the presence of oxygen, and during this phase, further energy is released as shown in the equation below. In this equation, we see that the two molecules of the pyruvic acid that is being produced in the stage of glycolysis is oxidized by 6 molecules of oxygen to produce 6 molecules of carbon dioxide in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. And we can see that it is actually 36 moles of ATP that is being released. So from this equation and the previous one we looked at in the stage of glycolysis, we see that 2 molecules of ATP is released in the stage of glycolysis, while in the stage of the Krebs cycle, 36 molecules of ATP is released. We have seen the Krebs cycle in this brief chemical equation, but actually, the Krebs cycle consists of a series of chemical reactions proceeding step by step in a cyclic manner under aerobic condition. This cycle was first worked out by a man known as H. A. Krebs, an English biochemist, in 1943. In the cycle, each reaction is regulated by specific respiratory enzymes. The Krebs cycle takes place in the mitochondria. So, having looked at the Krebs cycle, we are going to be explaining both the Krebs cycle and the first stage, which is the stage of glycolysis, in a diagram. But before we do that, we'll have to give the overall reaction of glycolysis and Krebs cycle. The overall reaction of glycolysis and Krebs cycle can be represented by a single equation, and this is given below. So in this equation, we see that the molecule of glucose is oxidized in the presence of oxygen to give 6 molecules of carbon dioxide and 6 molecules of water, releasing 38 moles of ATP as energy. So this equation is a combination of both the first and second phase of aerobic respiration. So now let us look at the stages in an outline or in a diagram. So this diagram here shows both the first stage and the second stage of the process of aerobic respiration. The first stage, which is the stage of glycolysis, has been outlined. So what happened in the stage of glycolysis is that the glucose molecule is phosphorylated by the addition of a phosphate group, and this is going to produce glucose phosphate, like we can see there, the glucose 6 phosphate. And also through series of oxidative enzymes, the glucose phosphate is converted to 2 molecules of triose sugar, a 3-carbon sugar, and this triose sugar is the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And this triose sugar is converted to pyruvic acid by the removal of 4 atoms of hydrogen by a coenzyme called nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, with the formation of 2 ATP and the release of pyruvic acid. So that is the pyruvic acid that is produced with the production of the pyruvic acid. So if sufficient oxygen is available, each molecule of the pyruvic acid or pyruvate is oxidized to remove 1 molecule of carbon dioxide, and this process is known as decarboxylation, and 2 atoms of hydrogen in a process known as dehydrogenation, forming one molecule of acetic acid, which is a 2 carbon acid, and carbon dioxide is released. The first stage, which is the stage of glycolysis, it takes place in the cytoplasm. Then this brings us to the second stage, which takes place in the mitochondria. Remember we mentioned that the pyruvic acid, which is the last product of the stage of glycolysis, in the presence of sufficient oxygen, will be oxidized to remove the carbon dioxide and the two atoms of hydrogen, forming acetic acid. This acetic acid then enters into a Krebs cycle, which is the second stage, and it is joined to a 4 carbon acid known as the oxaloacetic acid. And this oxaloacetic acid is present in the mitochondria. The combination of the oxaloacetic acid, which is a 4 carbon acid, with the acetic acid, which is a 2 carbon acid, is going to produce a 6 carbon acid, and this 6 carbon acid is known as the citric acid. One molecule of carbon atom in form of carbon dioxide, that is carbon dioxide, and one atom of hydrogen are removed by a process known as oxidative decarboxylation. This will lead to the formation of a 5 carbon acid known as the ketoglutaric acid. Another molecule of carbon dioxide and 2 atoms of hydrogen are further removed from the ketoglutaric acid to form a 4 carbon acid, which is known as the succinic acid. 2 atoms of hydrogen is removed from succinic acid to form a 4 carbon acid known as the malic acid. Again, 2 atoms of hydrogen is removed from the malic acid to form a 4 carbon acid known as the oxaloacetic acid. This oxaloacetic acid then combines with acetic acid again, and the cycle is repeated. The hydrogen that is removed in successive stages combine with molecular oxygen to form water. This Krebs cycle takes place in a cyclical pattern, that is, it is continuous. That is why it's known as a cycle. This brings us to the end of our discussion on aerobic respiration. Now we'll be taking some examples. Our first example says aerobic respiration in the cell takes place in the A. Cytoplasm, B. Lysosome, C. Nucleus, D. Mitochondria. The answer to this question is D. Aerobic respiration occurs in the mitochondria of the cell. However, note that anaerobic respiration takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. So our next question, it says in cellular respiration, energy is stored in the form of A. Chemical energy, B. Adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP, B. Adenosine diphosphate, ADP, D. Solar energy. The answer is B. That is, in cellular respiration, energy is stored in the form of adenosine triphosphate, ATP. Our next question says cellular respiration occurs in the A. Chloroplast, B. Endoplasmic reticulum, C. Food vacuole, D. Mitochondria, E. Nucleus. Cellular respiration takes place in the mitochondria of a cell. This will bring our answer to D. The next question says the part of the cell solely responsible for respiration is the A. Nucleus, B. Nucleolus, C. Mitochondria, D. Golgi apparatus, E. Endoplasmic reticulum. The answer to this is C, as the mitochondria is the part of the cell solely responsible for respiration. Now we'll be going to our next question. The next question says tissue respiration is important for the A. Release of energy for body use, B. Absorption of oxygen into the alveoli, C. Exhalation of carbon dioxide from lungs, D. Release of carbon dioxide into the lungs. The answer to this question is A.
This is because cellular or tissue respiration is important for the release of energy for the body's use. This brings us to the end of our examples. Now we are going to be looking at the exercises. This exercise, as you can see, is taken from our textbook Hidden Facts in Biology in pages 171. Do your best to answer them. The answers have been provided in the book in the answer section, in both soft copies and hard copies. Thank you for listening.